Welcome to Living Like Vacation, the show where we live our best life and find others doing the same. I'm Joe.
And I'm Gary.
And this is Skip. Skip is a writer, an executive producer at McBride Publishing, and also works in real estate. Today we're going to learn about Skip's many talents and how he lives like vacation.
Keep it up.
Well, today we're podcasting from our home location, home studio here, Club Joe in Trent Woods, North Carolina, one of our top sponsors of the show.
Yes.
Glad to be back in Club Joe.
It's good to be back home. We've been on the road a little bit, so I thought we'd start out with a little trivia, a little vacation trivia. Where does reading fall when you're going on vacation? Where does that fall? Are you a big reader when you go on vacation?
If I'm in the car for 5.5 hours, yeah. But I don't know, when I'm on vacation, like let's say I'm going to, from here to Boone, we will place up there. I read something, I like to listen to radio and that sort of thing. But if I'm in Europe or someplace like that, my eyes are outside on looking at the train going by and seeing the towns and everything else. I feel like if you stick your nose in the book on vacation, why go on vacation?
It makes a good point.
It does make a good point.
Are you an audiobook guy though, or are you actually reading I can't read in the car, I'll get car sick.
I have no problem. I've never been seasick. And right funny, many years ago, a group of us from New York went to sail Bermuda, 43-foot boat. There was 8 of us on board, and I was one of the navigators and one of the skippers, and I'd go down below and do fixes and do check where we were located, sitting right at the chart table, and the boat's just doing like this. Just doesn't bother me. But I know there's a reason, because we took some basketball players out sailing with us one time. They got sick, and I can't walk straight without falling down. That ball up in my head, it never balances right. So I'm out of balance, but you put me on the sailboat or anything, toss it back and forth, somehow it balances itself. Who knows?
Well, so Gary, are you a reader, a skimmer, or are you the guy that looks at pictures?
Articles.
Articles.
A lot of articles.
A lot of articles. I'm a picture guy. So when I'm looking at a book, I mean, I like a lot of pictures, and I typically look at like places or items, whenever I'm looking for that type of thing.
My wife would point out that I read every board when I'm traveling though. They always have those storyboards. I have to read every one. You probably do that. I used to look at pictures, but I gave up Playboy a long time ago. So People magazine every now and then, that's some interesting things. Yeah, they certainly do.
When I do read, I like to get in it to the point that I'm gone, and just like when I'm writing, I generally just get involved in what I'm writing. I just sit right there, and I will set 1 hour a day to write, and I get up hungry. But it goes by in seconds. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah. Well, Gary, do you want to introduce our guest?
Sure, I know we've talked a lot about it, but Skip, you grew up here in Newburgh, North Carolina, right? So he's a Newburgh native, been here his whole life, went to college at UNC Chapel Hill.
But if you cut me, I bleed purple.
Well, good to hear.
Good.
We have fans on both sides of that argument. So, well, welcome, Skip.
Thank you. Good to be here.
We're glad to have you.
I was thinking the other day that I'm not actually born here. And I'm working on a little story. I can't imagine. My father came to Newburgh, and I can picture this. In 1948, he's coming down. He's leaving Greensboro. He's taking the job with the VA. And I can see him driving down 70 when it was right there beside the railroad track. It's getting dark, and there's about 12 miles of straight road. And I'm in the back seat, and all of his worldly possessions, my mother's in the trunk, and that's all they have. And they're coming to start a life in Newburgh. And I can sit my mother, look over my dad, and say, "What in the world have you gotten us into?" And my father would look at it and say, "Well, look, Flossie," that was my mother's name. "It's either Newburgh, Anchorage, Alaska. I just rather go to Newburgh."
Yeah, good.
But the good news, when they came onto Broad Street, when 70 became Broad Street, all of a sudden they saw this beautiful town, and they fell in love with it, and we got 4 generations here now.
That's great.
And I mean, you've been here a long time, so you're a real estate appraiser. You write books. You've done some videography.
Yeah, we did we had a lot of fun with this. I was going to do a book. Bill Benners and I worked together on all kinds of things, and we were going to do a book on the Embers. And most people, I don't care where you're from, I'm not mentioning the Embers, they know who they are.
Great band.
Yes.
I mean, everybody knows them. And we were going to do interviews and do a book, and my wife, Carol, said, why don't you videotape this stuff? We thought that's a good idea because we were going to audio tape it. Well, we did it, and it got to take control of us. We were with them for 4.5 years.
Wow.
We did about 1,500 hours. They just treated us like, oh, they were great. And one thing I found out about people in the show business, we never found anybody that wasn't ready to tell us what was going on, because the minute that light went on, they lit right up. They told us everything. And we have a lot we can't print. I mean, we couldn't show because there's stories that would get us all in trouble. but we did that, and we put it together into a 2-hour documentary, and it's still available in DVD. But the hospital here in Newbern picked up the sponsorship to go on public television.
How about that?
And so we had it on a Friday. We had it on New Year's 2 years ago, New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, and then they show it periodically.
Wow.
So we were very pleased with that. That helped us break even.
Yeah. That's a big sponsorship.
That is a big sponsorship.
Good job, Carolina East. We know a sponsorship opportunity for you too.
This is true.
So you're doing these 3 things, and you have other hobbies. I mean, you're always out at the yacht club. What is the most rewarding thing for you of all, if you had to pick?
Right now, being a grandfather.
All right.
My first one right now. It's amazing. When I adopted my son, Sam, I told him, I said, Sam, you can keep your last name. He was 18 years old. He'd been Dale his whole life. And he kept it that way. And then a little over a year and a half ago, we were in a waiting room. They didn't know whether to get a boy or a girl. And they walked in, and he said, I want you to see a picture of your grandson, Crayton Dale. I lost him.
That's
I
awesome.
cried for an hour. Oh, and seeing him grow, and see, I had no children. My only daughter died right after birth. So I'm sitting there watching him open things up and look into him. The other day, I said, Crayton, he said, I'm going to go outside. He's about talking in a year and a half, can't believe it. Must be related.
Yeah, must run the family.
Anyway, I said, go get your shoes. So he went to the door, they weren't there, and he took off running. And I followed him in the bedroom, he pulls a drawer out, started getting his shoes. He knew where they were. I don't even know where my shoes are. But that has been a joy. I've done some fun things I've spent 25 years racing big sailboats, and that was a lot of fun. But I don't know, just getting up every day, going to work, and being blessed by God. He's blessed me beyond my wildest dreams, and I thank Him for it every day.
So how do you live like vacation while not only working but being involved in the community? Because there is a balance there that, I mean, you are very active. So how do you manage that?
Well, one of it's going downtown and meeting people. It's amazing. Newbern used to be I was telling you, one of my favorite articles in that book I gave y'all is, will the last person to leave Kinston please turn out the lights? Well, I never had liked Kinston very much because they were our biggest competitor when we come along. Now it's a pass-through, and Newbern's a destination. You go downtown on a weekend, there are people spending a weekend here. Mm-hmm. And they want to get to know people. The biggest thing that I found out about these people that are here visiting, they said, we have never been to a town so welcoming and so friendly. And they said, we're not meeting that many locals, so they're saying it comes from everybody here, not just. So downtown Newbern's a good vacation spot every day.
It is, and there's a lot of beautiful places that I think, like you said with your father, that people don't even know this is here when they get here. Like, oh my gosh, this is wonderful.
Do you have a special spot downtown that most people might not know of that you like to go?
Probably not now.
You probably don't want to tell it, maybe.
Oh, I wouldn't mind. I don't think there's a place to hide down there right now anyway, but I used to love to go up top of the Oaks building, and you can see all around with that, and that was just a real dream. I wish somebody would restore that. It's just,
That'd be great.
It's got a great view, and I enjoyed that. But, when you go out of town, first thing you do is head for restaurants. At night you're going to find a good restaurant. I went downtown to go to a restaurant a couple of years ago in January on a Tuesday night and couldn't find a place to park. That's vacation.
That is. That is.
It's quite the destination.
So Gary and I talk about this all the time about, when we started this show, the thought process behind it is to have a positive show, to focus on, detachment from work. And I've always felt like, we talked about this, is it's a mindset of, you can either just grind and grind and grind, or you can kind of enjoy it, like have some little pit stops along your day or your week to live that vacation mindset, even though you're not really on vacation. But it's hard not to think like that when we live in New Bern and it's so pretty here. But how do you get yourself into that mindset? Because you always have a smile on your face. You always, I always look at you like, man, that guy's living the life, man. He's living like vacation.
And a great story.
Yes.
Always a great story.
Well, you did mention one. I've always loved Union Point. I remember as a kid they had the women's club down there, and it became the teen club. And it's always been just it's right funny, but they were trying to figure out what to do with it. But they came up with several ideas, and one guy came out there and was going to extend the river to a big round pond. So I said, wait a minute, we're going to dig it out rather than fill it in. I mean, come on, we got plenty of waterfront. But that's just, matter of fact, that's where I proposed to my wife.
How about that?
It was just, we would meet down there and just, when we were dating, and it was it's a good place. I like to ponder, and I like to walk around down there and look at the names of those bricks. Have you ever done that?
Yeah.
It's a great place.
It was on my top 5 list of places proposed to.
Oh yeah, mine too.
I went with Ocracoke, but yeah, I was thinking Union Point there was a little spot in Raleigh, little park we used to go to, Union Point, so it was yours?
Mine was, I proposed in Little Washington, and my wife gives me a hard time to this day that I probably should have done it in New Bern.
It's a beautiful waterfront.
It is pretty, but
it's
not New Bern. She's a New Bern girl.
Did you do it in front of Bill's, or did you do it on the waterfront?
I did it by the estuarium right there where the gazebo is.
But think about this, we got just things like this, like not here in New Bern, but Minnesota Ferry. I love going across it. I can get out of my car. I'm on vacation.
That's it.
Yeah.
You see the birds. I mean, it's just a wonderful place to go. And I guess if somebody said, would you choose a place to have vacation the rest of your life if you couldn't go one? But it'd be here.
It'd be.
I mean, it's just, the river. My goodness, that's been a part of our lives since I was a kid. And when I was growing up, when they used to have the water ski shows there at Trent Pines Club, that was something else. In fact, we had to be boats on the river when I was a kid. I think you could walk across the boats that were there. It was fun.
I know you're busy. You're doing all these real estate appraisals. You could work all day and night if you want, but you don't. You choose not to do that. I mean, what made you make that decision?
Well, the thing I like about it is it's pretty well. We are very busy. We're twice as busy as we were last year, but we can pick and choose. Normally, we would do 3 counties: Crayton, Carter, and Pamlico. We only do Crayton now, and so we can basically pick and choose. Although our number one people, we don't pick and choose. They're the people who will be there when this thing ends.
Mm-hmm.
So
right.
that's what we do. But it's and I like appraising. I like meeting the people, and you meet people that in many cases have just gotten here, and you get a chance to push the community, and they've already bought or whatever. But I tell them the fun part is when I go measure the house. The work's when I have to go down and put the appraisal together. But rank and file, we've got some wonderful people that move here.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you make that decision every day that I'm only going to do 3 houses and then I'm going to go enjoy this area, as opposed to I'm just going to do 10 houses, go to bed, get up and do another 10 houses and make the money as long as I can? Like, because you got that balance,
Well, I think most people who like what they're doing have that balance. I mean, if you do it so, it's like someone, when I was interviewing one of the guys with the Embers, this guy left, he graduated from Campbell. That night, the band, he didn't go to the graduation party, went to Greensboro to perform. And we were sitting there talking with it in his house on the golf course in Raleigh with 2 Mercedes in the garage. And he's not working anymore. And the grand piano was a Steinway in his, and I could tell he'd been successful, and he never worked outside the band. He's done some investing because he managed a business. But he said, and I've heard this before a bit so much, if you like what you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life.
Right.
It's true. It's true. So when it comes to writing and producing, what got you into that field? Like, what made you want to become a writer and start producing? And I mean, was that something that was on the radar? I mean, it's not.
No, I was not writing at all, and I don't know why. I just I got some time together, and I made time for it. See, that's the thing about writing. I said this earlier. I always don't write more than an hour a day so that I do not get writer's block, and I get up hungry to come back. But I started off just the newspaper. The first oil film was Times wanted me to write some stuff.
When was this? No.
Gosh, it was over 20 years ago.
Okay.
And I had never written anything, but I started doing it, and I've had a little knack for it. And evidently, I got through the English okay. But but I find I'm very dyslexic, which helps me writing. I backdoor a lot of things, which ends in a surprise sentence or whatever. And so when I'm writing, it is a part of my day that the rest of the world disappears while I'm doing it. And it's amazing how the characters you put out there take their own life among themselves. But it's just one of those deals that just got more and more fun to do, and I still enjoy it.
Is there a certain time of day that you like to write?
5 o'clock in the afternoon.
As soon as you get done.
Yeah, we get home, and now that I don't have my office at home, around 4, but when I'm writing, I just do it, but I do it for 1 hour. Now, Bill Bender's write for 3 days.
Wow.
I know how he does it. Then he goes back and re-edits. My book, The Letter Sweater, when I finished the first draft, it had 180 pages. It was 260 pages when I finished it because it had to be rewritten. I'm going to say it anyway. Ernest Hemingway said, first drafts ain't shit. And that's what he said, I didn't. But people try to make it, what you do with that first draft is know it's not good. And when we were actively seeking people to publish, because we had a small publishing company, people would send us stuff and get angry when we wouldn't take it. And they said, well, my mother just loved it. And I said, I'm sure she did, if she's your mother.
She loves everything.
I mean, I could give anything to your mother, and they didn't take criticism and got angry. Some people that we took on were very open to criticism. So I guess the thing about it is that when we're writing, it's a delightful thing, and I enjoy doing it.
Let's talk about vacation a little bit here. You've been on a lot of vacations. Mm-hmm. What's one of the funniest stories that you can tell on our show?
You can tell.
I'm about to think back on that one.
Because you are one of the best storytellers in the area, so tell us a good vacation story.
I may have to think a few minutes about that.
That's okay.
We've done I've seen some funny things happen, but I may have to think on that one.
Well, I will tell you that when I think of funny vacation stories, I think of, many times when I've gone with a group of people and then, just something just bizarre happens that nobody's ready for. I've gone on a lot of cruises and a lot of there's destinations, all-inclusive type vacations. And one of my favorite vacations was a Disney cruise that I took several years ago. And I liked it because the kids, when you go on a Disney cruise, the kids they're occupied. They're almost like in a Magic Kingdom daycare. And so, so you're putting them in that. And so they get this phone thing that they can contact you, while they're doing while they're playing. And, they have you'll have a dinner and they'll have an evening pajama thing. And they're getting entertained like you would never entertain them. Star Wars characters are full on Darth Vader with lightsabers, and then the princesses are coming out there you can't replicate that. So the whole time I'm just hanging out, at the bar, getting food, hanging out, and I'm like, should I feel guilty about this? Should I feel bad that my kids? But the whole time they're like, hey, please don't come down here. We're living our best life with these princesses right now.
Yeah, that's right. I'll tell you one of my funniest. It's the '99 Mardi Gras. Me and 8 other 18-year-olds drove down in one Suburban. We took out all the seats and laid, sideways. Well, anyways, on the way back, this is back before, MapQuest and all that stuff. It was east or west, and we made the bad decision to go west. Ooh. And it wasn't, leaving Mardi Gras, you go west, it's not like you can turn around the next exit. You end up over the bayou. And we took a 14-hour ride back, turned into a 24-hour ride back.
Oh, man.
We ended up having to get all the way to the Texas border pretty much before we could head north. So it was pretty funny.
Well, there's a lot of different things that, a lot of stories that happen when you're on vacation. And, we're fortunate, too. We like to take just little mini trips. And recently, Gary and I took one to Okerco.
Oh, yeah, what a good time.
Yeah, it was a good time. So I took the ferry boat by myself. Never done that before, just me and a book, like you're talking about, and whenever we had a good time that week.
Where'd you stay?
At the Pony.
Yeah,
Pony, okay.
It's a great little place there.
We used to leave Oriental. There were several boats with Newbern, and we'd go for a week at Okerco, and this is back in the 70s. And we'd sail over, and we'd spend the night probably in Lower Broad Creek, and then finish off into Okerco. And it was only like a couple of hotels over there, and we would go there and just stay all week and then sail back. And it was a delightful. I remember the place we were staying. It was just perfect. When we sailed over, the wind was behind us all the way. And the day before we were supposed to go back, I looked at the flag at the Coast Guard station. It dropped. And turned the other direction, and we had the wind behind us all the way back.
Oh, that's good. That's made me nervous there for a second.
How long of a sail is that?
Huh?
How long of a sail is
it takes about 8 hours to get over.
Wow, that's amazing.
That
would be so much fun.
I used to think taking go down my boat, my sailboat, when I was racing, all that was a vacation. It's right here. But the most fun race we ever had, you talk to Bob Baskerville or Pete Rollins or my sister, several. We used to do the Wachovia Cup. It was a 100-mile race out of Wrightsville Beach. And what you did, you left Wrightsville Beach, went to R4, which is 24 miles offshore, rounded it, and came back to Bullhead City. It blew 45 miles. We had 15-foot seas, and we had a blast.
Oh, man.
It was, everybody owed us time. First time I ever raced it, our boat was big enough that we other people time. Well, we got older and whatever, and there was 51 boats out there, and we came in fourth behind 3 state-of-the-art racing boats, and we was just flying. It was the most fun trip. That was right here in Eastern North Carolina.
Yeah.
What size boat were you on?
30 foot. Wow. We hit that boat's hull speed, which on a sailboat hull speed, if you get it wide open with your motor, is 7 knots. You just because it's got a displacement hull. We hit 13 off a wave one time.
Whoa.
It was fun. We took 2 breakers over it. Ron Moore, my late friend who was my doctor, he was the one who's primitive. We actually carried a storm spinnaker. And I'm driving, Bob Baskerville, I switch it off, and I'd see Ron looking after, and he would put his head down, and I'd feel that boat come up, get one over here. But here's the deal. We had confidence in the crew and confidence in the boat. We never worried. We had a ball.
That's a lot, that cruise to Okerco, that long sound that's a significant amount of water.
Well, it's the Neuse River is the widest river in America. Mm-hmm. And 2 years ago, Sam, my son and I took our boat, and he couldn't get off till Friday afternoon or whatever beforehand. So we went to Oriental, spent the night, and took the boat over. But we came back the next day, after the 4th, and it took us in a powerboat 3 hours, and we found out from the Eastern Carolina Yacht Club, from the Anchorage East is 74 miles.
How about that? There you go. You learned something, Dave. Yep. 74 miles if you want to know. I've always wanted to know that.
It was actually 2.5 hours to the bridge in Newbern. We had slowed down some going through but we were clocking it to see how it was. We just kind of we were moving with the wind behind us, and the flags were all hanging down. We were about to sweat to death.
That's fascinating to me. A friend of mine and we're both looking into getting our captain's license to sail. I've always been interested in it. I think the boats, in my opinion, are some of the most romantic looking boats on the water. You just see those sailboats. I know they're working hard out there for the most part, but they just look so beautiful on the water.
Well, now that if you get a cruising boat, it's easy for two people to take out because the sails all furl in and out, and most people don't fly spinnakers, and so it is quiet. You cut that motor off, and it leans over, and it's quiet. The letter sweater, which I wrote, has to deal with the sailboat race toward the end of it, and there's a section in there where the story is about a guy who it starts off with a woman saying goodbye to her boyfriend who's headed to Vietnam, and she wants him to marry her so bad, and he says, "I'm not gonna come back dead married. I will come back and we'll do it." So the last month he was in. They've been dating since 14 years old. The last year he was there, last month, he got a Dear John letter from her, and they had not seen each other in 31 years till they both came back to Newbern. I won't tell you anymore.
That's great.
You need to check that book out.
Yes, and speaking of that, can you tell us the books that you've written and just kind of where we can get those books? And
Well, most of everything we sell because it's so active is you can get everything that we've written, and Bill Benners and McBride Publishing has written, and the film down at the bookstore next to the ABC store downtown.
Okay.
And she carries all of them. She's very good with local writers. We are still available on Amazon, but our big thing has been Kindle. Bill Benners' book, My Sister's Keeper, has sold 485,000 copies of his book, and so that's the best seller. But that's where you can get those. But that's the only fiction, but the letter sweater I've ever written.
That's great.
Tell us about the latest book that you gave us today. We did receive.
That's the first one.
That's the first book.
Yeah, that's what I was. My late wife said when I was writing for the newspaper, she said, "Why don't you make a book?" And I said, "I don't think I'd get a publisher for it." So I started working on it. Well, she formed a publishing company. Her middle name was McBride. It's like McBride Films Hillman. So it became McBride Publishing. So what we did was we took about, I think there's 100 or so of the columns and put them together in that book.
Okay.
And I call it a bathroom book. Put it in your bathroom, you got something you can read before you get out and see it. But every one of them has a story to them. They have a beginning, middle, and end. And the way I wrote it and put it together is that if one story, I put it, every fourth story gets a crescendo, so you want to go to the next one. But I don't think any of them are really boring.
Can you give us the name of the book again?
The name of the book is
Remember When.
Remember When.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Remember When. I didn't remember. I'm not going to sound like Joe, won't I?
Remember When. You had to pick that up.
Yes.
I hear, is Remember When, is that one of our official sponsors today?
It's one of our sponsors today.
Yeah, the book Remember When is one of the sponsors today.
Yes.
McBride Publishing. We
Yes.
want to thank McBride Publishing for.
You guys are on top of your game.
That's
Yeah,
the
right.
ABC store, the bookstore beside the
Yeah,
ABC store.
yeah.
Might as well thank the ABC store too.
It's the next, yep, and the ABC store. They've always provided us with
right
good
now,
content.
they're out of a lot of booze.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Yes. So thank you, Skip, for spending time with us today. We had a great time, and let's live like vacation.
I enjoyed it very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.